receiving his golden ticket in the June monthly finals.
Yes, and there is a very difference in the meta currently than last year where he finished second. There's a lot less miner poison. We saw one miner not really poisoned today so far, and it didn't do too well. So this could really be a big difference maker for Pedro.
Yeah, Pedro cycling the Ice Spirit, cycling the Monk, you have to assume that it's probably going to be RG. But the Ice Wizard as well, even a few opportunities, still probably leaning towards that RG though.
Yeah, you see the Monk, you see the Ice Wizard, very similar deck to what Elsiop actually played versus Muhammad Light in round 1. On the other hand, Sub here with I don't know, is this an Electro Giant deck? Or this deck is very interesting. Maybe Drill, potentially, but it looks like E-Giant to me.
Yeah, and Pedro with a hot start to the game, the Fireball catching the Knight plus the Cannon, and able to get a good chunk of damage on top of Sub's left tower. Ice Wizard, as great as it is, it does struggle in DPS situations. RG, it looked like the icicles were more like feathers.
Yeah, now Evo Royal Giant is going to be in cycle, and we do see the poison, so maybe last card is like a Miner or a Goblin Drill for Wing Edition, or maybe he's just relying on just simply Goblin Stein with the Evo Bomber and just control.
Yeah, it really is interesting. I really think you could put out a poll and no card is going to receive more than 15% of the votes. I'm dumbfounded on what this last card can be.
Okay, we do see the Monk ability dropping here. Is not deflecting the Cannon, which is a huge point to watch out for here. And a Tornado from Sub preventing the King Tower activation, but was that the right play? Maybe he should activate or pull the Royal Giant backwards to stop all of this damage.
Yeah, you have to, I mean, Pedro is just playing this absolutely perfectly, and there we go. It's going to be the Graveyard, but Pedro should be able to clean this up pretty nicely. The ability for the Doctor already activated, and some of these skeletons are, I mean, he did get a fair bit of damage. Tower's pretty close, only 363 HP separating the two players.
So we have some classic kind of splash art here with the Goblin Sign of Sev Baby Dragon with the Cannon for solid defense. But this Monk is getting so much value versus the Bomber, the Cannon, the Goblin Sign, even the Ice Wiz deflections.
Yeah, and a value Fireball. Goblin Stein not able to cross the bridge, and that's a beautiful Fisherman taking out the Ice Wizard instead of the Goblin Stein, and just Pedro pushing another RG on the board.
The later this gets in the game, the more chance Sub has to come back and get the dub here with that Graveyard. In order to win for Sub, he needs to get an Evo Knight or a Goblin Stein with the Graveyard and a pre-poison onto guards if he's gonna break through and make this happen.
And what do you do if you're Pedro? Is it just continuing to cycle the RGs at the bridge? How do you stay away from these big pushes from Sub?
I think you have to try to block at the bridge like he's doing right now with that Monk. You need to always save guards for the Graveyard, and you need to try to chip away with the Fireballs. But all of that, and you can see what I'm talking about. Later in this game, those Graveyards and those poisons are going to slowly stack through.
I'm pretty sure we just saw our first kind of major mistake of the tournament. Sub placing the Ice Wizard in the back of the map on the right side and shaking his head quickly. This is real trouble for him, and that's going to be at least one shot, maybe a second. Not going to be the case.
No Tornado in cycle there. He had to take that hit. He had no choice. And once again, I still think he can come back. There is triple elixir. Anything is possible. He needs to get Graveyards on the tower, but it's going to be close.
Right now, both players just trying to win these bridge battles. Fireball going to get a lot of value. And right there, the Goblin Stein might make it to the tower. It's definitely not going to chip away. And Pedro still just trying to defend, and get those RGs on the board.
And Sub is so consistent with the Tornadoes pulling the Monk back as the ability is happening to prevent the ability. But I mean, can you stop this RG? You have the Evo Bomber, you have the Tornado, but the Fireball is dropping on both. This Evo Royal Giant is still healthy. One shot. Do we see a second? There it is! Pedro taking World Finals.
And here we go, heading into game number 2. Sub Pedro up 1-0.
Both players relaxing, sitting at 10 elixir, waiting for their opponent to make the first play. It's always better to react instead of attack in Clash Royale, so you can use your Princess Towers in support of your cards and then counter push later.
You know, I don't know if we talked a lot about these mottos, but I really do enjoy seeing them. Never take it easy, fight on. I don't think fight on was one of them. I'm sure these players are smarter than I am when it comes to mottos. But, you know, I think it's very important. What would your motto be?
My motto is, it is never too late to activate King Tower. That is my motto.
Ooh, it's not bad.
I love my King Tower
activation.
activation.
Fun, too. Stop it.
Yeah, that's my motto.
Pedro cycling the arrows and the rage. We've seen that plenty of times. We could be seeing the P.E.K.K.A. Goblin Giant deck that's been very popular. And now with the addition of Goblinstein, still thinking it's probably going to be P.E.K.K.A.
Little Prince. It's interesting. We've seen Little Prince twice now in World Finals. It seems like we're almost back to where champions were very important. After evolutions got added to the game, champions really kind of stopped being too important, but the 3-card cycle seems pretty necessary at this World Finals.
And right here, Bomber at the bridge on the left side. Okay, I like the idea behind that. Can the P.E.K.K.A. take out the Fisherman?
Wow.
Not going to be the case. And that Fisherman, goodness me oh my, getting as much value as it can, but still getting the charge. This Ram Rider, it feels like every single time it's placed on the map, it's getting 16 charges onto 13 buildings.
But Sub knows that his defense was decent enough to be up Elixir, so he attacks directly with the Roll Giant right before double Elixir come through. And look at this Roll Giant, getting many shots and putting Sub actually in the damage lead.
Yeah, right there. I mean, this is the second time we've seen one of these kind of major mistakes from one of these players. This time, Pedro putting the rage outside of the Bomber's range, and the Bomber not getting raged up allows the RG to go to town on that tower.
He goes for the Fisherman, is distracted on the Goblinstein on the right side. The E-Spirit will prevent the Ram Rider from reaching tower though, and we might have another situation of a good counter push. Here comes the Roll Giant right away.
Yeah, I really think he messed up on that push. Can that evil Bomber save him? It looks like it could be the case. He needs that P.E.K.K.A. to get that final shot, and he does. Got saved right there, otherwise that would have been towered down for sure. And it's crazy, do you just put an evil P.E.K.K.A. on the map, and all of a sudden you're kind of just back into a game.
Very close. I honestly thought Sub was in a lot of trouble there, but the Mega Knight drops down, cleans up the right. Left side, very surgical with the E-Spear to stop charge, and the Barbarian Barrel to do decent damage. I like what Sub's doing. He's allowing his opponent to split up damage, but he's all locked in on the right-hand side.
I gotta say, I've never really seen that interaction before. The Fireball catching the Ghost in mid-air, just sniping it out of the air. Very impressive, and I don't think you can put a P.E.K.K.A. in the back. I think that's game over. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, it only gets 2 shots, but I mean, 1 shot, that's too much. You can't put the P.E.K.K.A. in the back when it's 1 minute and 30 seconds left in the game.
Sub does have Fireball back in cycle. It does not do enough, though. He needs 2 Fireballs to finish out the game. This is all but over. Here is the Evo P.E.K.K.A. in cycle. Will Pedro be able to make something happen? It does look like the Fisherman does come back around. I thought it was going to walk away.
Right there, Mega Knight jumping onto the Doctor, the P.E.K.K.A. doing what it can, but that E-Spirit, that 1 Elixir E-Spirit might be enough. The E-Wish should not be enough to stop the Ram Rider going to town on top of the tower, getting it down to 395, Fireball on defense.
It's 1-1 in the best of 3, and there's just so much on the line here.
Yeah, as soon as I put myself into a player's shoes, my hands start to shake violently. Oh my goodness, I'm not ready for this moment. I gotta say, I'm very impressed with the stoicism from all these players. It feels like, you know, they're getting nervous, they're making, you know, 1 or 2 mistakes, but it's not that bad, which makes sense. You know, we're 7 years in, 8 years in. It feels like they should be ready for the moment, but it feels like they never are until this one.
Yeah, I mean, Clash Royale is a very mental game. It's all about, you know, it's all, I mean, your emotions can play a big factor.
Yep.
I mean, you want to remain emotionless. You want to play the best of your ability every single game, no matter what. Let me go back to my interview with Lucas. After that first loss versus Lava Hound, where he really couldn't do much, he said, I just needed to pretend it didn't happen, really. And it's absolutely correct. You cannot think about any losses. You just have to think about winning and playing your best this game.
Oh boy, Pedro whipping out the Miner plus the Little Prince. And, you know, it does get deleted from the map, the P.E.K.K.A., Evo P.E.K.K.A. in the next cycle, but the P.E.K.K.A. is gonna make it hard for Pedro to get any chip damage whatsoever. Always gonna be able to take out the Mega Knights, the Little Princes, the Miners. But if there's anybody who can figure out this kind of matchup, it's gonna be Pedro.
Oh! Huge mistake. Lumberjack played one tile too far down, trying to get the king activated, but it doesn't pull. The Mega Knight connection here, as you said, Pedro, it's very difficult for him to get damage in this matchup, but now he has it. Now he just needs good defense.
Right there, Ramrider. Oh, a great rage, and that's going to take out all the skellies, get one charge onto the tower, 25-20. And man, that was a 3-second window where everything Pedro did, Sub did something better. The Ramrider got that charge before Pedro could get the Tesla down. He got the rage as soon as the skellies were plopped down on the ground. Pedro wasn't quick enough with a miner. Sub fighting back.
Evo P.E.K.K.A in the back, slow rolling a big push here. We still don't know Sub's last card, but it's most likely going to be an extra spell to be able to break through on offense versus you name it here on defense. Pedro, on the other hand, has the Evo Mega Knight, but we all know who's going to win in an interaction between Mega Knight and P.E.K.K.A.
And right there, Pedro was trying to set it up so that the P.E.K.K.A wouldn't get the heal on itself. Instead, the Mega Knight just a little bit too low, and the P.E.K.K.A ends up taking out what I believe was a miner, and that Rammer does get a shot. No activation of the ability. I'm pretty sure he just wasn't back to it. There's so much going on in the map that I can't really pay attention at this point.
And this is what you were talking about earlier. Sub just keeps placing a P.E.K.K.A in the back. It's blocking that entire lane, preventing a miner poison from coming through and getting damage. Instead, in fact, Pedro just continually use miner on defense. He is up damage, but for how long?
Yeah, and I mean, we just have to wait and see what Sub's last card is, because if it's a Lightning, this game could just be over from that, because Pedro's always going to think, all right, you know, my Tesla's going to be enough. I can put the Mega Knight in the back, and this offensive push from Sub is going to be nothing. But a Lightning will just change the game entirely.
And you see the Evo Ice Spirit doing such a good job on defense.
Wow.
You know, a year ago, or maybe even 6 months ago, Ice Spear was the worst Evo in the game. But now you can see why it's so used on defense versus these P.E.K.K.As and these Mega Knight Evos.
Defensive poison coming in from Pedro. The way pros, wow, that Ram Rider onto the tower. The Mega Knight jumping is going to do a little bit, but it's going to get a charge plus a regular hit. And that right tower for Pedro down to 1664. But now here it is. It's 1 minute left. This is Pedro at his peak. Miner, poison, can he defend?
He does defend decently, but that Rammer connection is now put it in Pedro's court to get damage. He can't just defend, he needs the damage. He needs a miner poison connection on tower, and he has yet to get it. Will it be possible in this last 30 seconds?
Lumberjack cycle to the right from Sub. Pedro probably going to go the opposite lane. I mean, especially with that P.E.K.K.A. But here's the thing. You only have Bar Barrel and Poison. Those goblins on defense, it's going to be too much. He's going to elect to go same lane right here.
Miner, Poison is inbound. The goblins prevent all miner hits. The Poison gets some damage, but there's only 13 seconds left on the clock. Both players spell cycling. Sub is in the lead, and he's just trying to predict the next miner, and he is successful.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to get the damage. Sub is going to take game number 3. He has to feel so good about this. Sub cycling perfectly. The P.E.K.K.A in the back, I could just